You think you know what goes on behind those kitchen doors? Think again. What I'm about to reveal will make you question every drive-through decision you've ever made. These aren't rumors or corporate scandals. These are confessions from the people who actually make your food. And what they're saying will shock you. Here's what McDonald's would rather you never hear. Every order is timed. Drive-through has 90 seconds. Inside orders get 60. Miss those targets, and you get written up. Miss them often, and you're gone. Now layer this on top of deliberate understaffing. A manager in Ohio said it plainly. They schedule the bare minimum to save money, then yell when we fall behind. In Chicago, one store ran dinner rush with 3 people handling more than 200 orders an hour. That's 1 order every 18 seconds. With 3 humans, during peak chaos. The timing system tracks everything. How long to flip a burger, how long to build a Big Mac, how long to fill a drink. Former workers say sensors beep at you nonstop. It feels like a factory floor. Staffing is driven by corporate software that predicts sales, almost always underestimates, and blocks managers from calling for help. As one Texas manager put it, corporate would rather customers wait than hire one more person. The ice cream machine issues are not a joke either. Employees say half the time it's not broken. It's left uncleaned because the cleaning cycle takes 4 hours and no one is scheduled to do it.
I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, I've never seen something this disgusting.
Yeah, no.
When it finally gets cleaned, workers report mold and buildup in the machine that makes your shakes and McFlurries. A maintenance worker admitted the machines are designed to be difficult, so the manufacturer profits from repairs. Food safety shortcuts are routine. Burgers that should be tossed after 15 minutes get retimed. Nuggets get cycled multiple times. Fries that should be fresh at 7 minutes get stretched far longer. Hash browns made at sunrise served at 10:30. Workers admit food can sit for hours under heat lamps. Cleaning lapses are worse. Grease traps meant for daily cleaning sit for a week. Some grow black, crusted layers that occasionally catch fire during a rush. Employees put the flames out and keep cooking. Even the eggs aren't always what they seem. Round eggs are fresh. The folded ones arrive frozen and get microwaved. When equipment breaks or shifts fall apart, workers improvise with half-thawed patties, rushed prep, and long-expired items because no one has time to remake orders. Cross-contamination is common during rush hours. Gloves don't get changed. Raw and cooked items share surfaces. Allergens get mixed. Whistleblowers say they're punished for speaking up. Some were fired, threatened, or pushed out after showing videos of unsafe conditions.
We got onions that we have to use because they don't want to throw it out because of food costs.
A few franchise owners run clean, well-staffed stores. But they're the minority. For most locations, speed and profit shape your food more than freshness or safety ever will. So, the next time you roll up to that window, understand what you're actually buying. Food produced inside a system designed for volume, not care. If you think McDonald's is bad, wait until you hear about Burger King. Franchise system creates wildly inconsistent standards, and what employees reveal will make you never want to eat there again. Let's start with the infamous 2012 lettuce incident. An employee posted photos of himself standing in lettuce containers with his shoes on. The photos went viral. He was fired within hours. But here's the shocking truth employees reveal. It wasn't just one bad apple. A former worker commented, "That guy was an idiot for posting it, but that behavior happens more than people think. When you've got teenagers making minimum wage with zero supervision, they do stupid stuff. I've seen people eat food off the line, mess with orders, drop things and serve them anyway. The difference is, most people aren't dumb enough to post it on social media." But the real problem is management, or the complete lack of it. A Pennsylvania employee stated, "Management was completely absent or incompetent. The store manager would disappear for hours, leaving teenagers to run the entire restaurant. When problems came up, nobody had authority to fix them. Complete chaos." Another from Georgia. "I worked there for 6 months and saw 3 different managers quit or get fired. There was zero consistency. Every new manager changed the rules, changed the schedule, changed expectations. You never knew what you were walking into. The franchise model is what makes Burger King particularly dangerous. Unlike McDonald's, with its strict corporate oversight, Burger King franchises operate with much more independence. That sounds good in theory. local owners making decisions for their communities. In practice, it means some locations are run professionally, while others are complete disasters with no accountability. A former district supervisor revealed, "I've walked into franchise locations that were absolutely disgusting. Mold in the ice machines, expired food in the walk-ins, employees with no food handler certifications. But because they're franchises, corporate has limited power to force changes. They can threaten to revoke the franchise agreement, but that's a long legal process. Meanwhile, customers are eating there every day. Training? What training?" Multiple employees reported identical experiences. They showed me a 20-minute video from 1995 and said, "Figure it out." I was put on register my first day with no practice, no shadowing, nothing. Customers were screaming at me because I didn't know how to ring up their orders, and management just shrugged. The training videos themselves became a joke among employees. The video quality was so bad you could barely see what they were demonstrating. The uniforms were from decades ago. The equipment shown didn't even exist in our store anymore. It was completely useless, but corporate required us to watch it and sign off that we'd been trained. Here's something that will terrify you about their flame-broiled burgers. A former cook shared, "The broilers never get properly cleaned. Grease fires happen regularly because the grease trap is so clogged. I've seen flames shoot up 3 feet during a rush. The fire suppression system would go off, covering everything in chemical foam, and we'd just wipe it down and keep cooking. No deep cleaning, no inspection, nothing. Just chemical foam wiped off and back to cooking your food. But it gets worse. The chemical foam itself is a hazard. That suppression foam isn't food safe. It's meant to put out fires, not be around food. But we'd wipe it off with the same towels we used for everything else and keep cooking. I'm sure customers were eating trace amounts of fire suppression chemicals." When Burger King launched the Impossible Whopper, employees immediately reported a shocking problem. "We cook the Impossible patties on the same broiler as regular beef. There's no separate cooking area. People ordering them for vegetarian or religious reasons are basically getting meat residue, whether they know it or not." This led to a class action lawsuit in 2019. But the cross-contamination goes beyond the Impossible Whopper. We cook everything on the same surfaces. Chicken, beef, fish, it all goes on the same broiler. People with allergies have no idea what they're actually getting. I've had customers ask if we can avoid cross-contamination, and I'd have to lie and say yes, because management told us to never admit we can't accommodate dietary restrictions. The lawsuit revealed something even more disturbing. Burger King knew about the cross-contamination issue before launching the Impossible Whopper. Internal documents showed employees raised concerns during the rollout, but corporate decided to proceed anyway because building separate cooking areas would be too expensive. The hiring process was equally disturbing. They'd hire anyone with a pulse. No background checks, no real interviews. I worked with people who were clearly on drugs, people who'd steal from the register, people who'd show up drunk. Management didn't care as long as bodies were behind the counter. One employee shared a particularly disturbing story. "We had a guy who would come to work high every single day. Everyone knew it, including management. He'd mess up orders, move in slow motion, sometimes fall asleep standing up. But we were so understaffed that management refused to fire him. They said, 'A bad employee is better than no employee.' Wow. The theft problem was rampant and ignored. I've seen coworkers steal food, steal money from the register, even steal customers' credit card information. When I reported it to management, they told me to mind my own business. One manager was actually in on it. He'd let employees steal food in exchange for them, covering his shifts when he wanted to leave early." Hardee's has a reputation among fast food workers that will shock you. It's where careers go to die. The employee testimonials paint a picture so disturbing, you'll wonder how they're still in business. A North Carolina employee posted, "In 3 years, I worked under 7 different managers. Each one was worse than the last. They'd hire their friends, play favorites, and create such toxic environments that good employees would walk out mid-shift. The turnover created a vicious cycle. New managers would come in, fire half the staff because they wanted to bring in their own people, then realize they couldn't run the restaurant understaffed, then desperately hire anyone who applied. The quality of employees got worse and worse because word got around that Hardee's was a terrible place to work. But here's what's really disturbing: the complete breakdown of food safety standards. One employee shared the incident that made them quit. I watched my manager drop an entire tray of chicken tenders on the floor, pick them up, and still serve them. When I objected, I was told I was being too picky, and that food waste costs money. I walked out that day. Another revealed kitchen conditions that will make you sick. The walk-in cooler had mold growing on the walls. The prep surfaces were never properly sanitized. I've seen food dropped, stepped on, and still served to customers. When you're making $8 an hour and management treats you like garbage, some people just stop caring. The mold problem was systematic and ignored. The walk-in cooler had black mold in the corners that had been there for years. Management would paint over it instead of actually removing it. The ceiling tiles in the kitchen had water damage and mold spots. The ice machine had pink slime growing inside it. But health inspectors would give us advance notice of inspections, so we'd do a deep clean the day before and everything would look fine. About those famous made-from-scratch biscuits, a Reddit AMA revealed the disturbing truth. Those biscuits are real. We do make them fresh every morning, but here's what they don't tell you. They're only good for about 2 to 3 hours. After that, they get hard and dense. If you're ordering a biscuit after 11 a.m., you're probably getting something that's been sitting for hours and tastes like cardboard. But the biscuit deception goes deeper. We're supposed to make fresh batches throughout the day, but that takes time and labor, so managers would tell us to just microwave the old ones for a few seconds to soften them up. Customers couldn't tell the difference, but they were eating biscuits that were 6 to 8 hours old. The scheduling was deliberately manipulative and designed to exploit workers. They'd schedule you for 39 hours, so they didn't have to give benefits, then call you in on your days off and guilt trip you if you said no. They'd threaten to cut your hours if you didn't come in whenever they wanted. The scheduling manipulation was even more calculated than that. They'd schedule you for closing shift, then opening shift the next morning, giving you maybe 6 hours between shifts. That's technically legal, but it meant you'd get home at midnight, have to be back at 5 a.m., and you'd be exhausted. They did this deliberately to the employees they didn't like, hoping they'd quit. Equipment maintenance was non-existent. Fryers that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. Grills with grease buildup so thick you could scrape it off with a spatula. Ice machines with visible mold. But we were still expected to serve food from this equipment. One employee revealed the equipment situation was even worse. Our main grill was broken for 3 weeks. The temperature control didn't work, so it would either be too hot and burn everything, or too cold and undercook meat. We told management. They said they'd fix it, but weeks went by. We just had to guess and hope. We weren't serving raw chicken. The turnover was so bad that stores couldn't function. We'd train someone for a week. They'd see the conditions and quit. I've worked shifts where I was the only person who knew how to operate the grill. Customers would wait 30 minutes for a burger because nobody else knew what they were doing. We just exposed 3 of America's biggest burger chains, and what you've heard is already shocking. But the next 3 chains? The employee stories get even more disturbing. We're talking about single employees running entire restaurants, health violations that would shut down kitchens if inspectors saw them, and working conditions so bad they're causing mental breakdowns. If you're already questioning your fast food choices, wait until you hear what's coming next. Smash that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs to see it. Because what these next employees reveal will change how you think about drive-thru forever. Jack in the Box markets itself as the fun, quirky, late-night option with endless variety. What employees reveal about working there will give you nightmares. Here's the first shocking truth. They have over 100 menu items. A cook posted, "We have over 100 menu items. Burgers, tacos, egg rolls, teriyaki bowls, breakfast all day, salads, shakes, curly fries, and we're supposed to keep all of it ready to serve. It's impossible. The kitchen is total chaos during any kind of rush." But here's what will blow your mind. Most of that variety is just reheated frozen food. A shift manager revealed, "Those tacos everyone loves? The filling comes in bags and sits in warmers for hours. The egg rolls are frozen, the teriyaki bowls are microwaved. We're basically a fancy microwave operation with a grill." The taco filling revelation is particularly gross. The taco meat comes in these huge bags that we heat up in hot water, then pour into warming trays. It can sit there for an entire shift, 8 hours or more. By the end of the night, there's this crusty layer on top that we're supposed to stir back in. It's disgusting. The late night shifts are where things get truly disturbing. An overnight worker shared, "Working 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. was like something out of a horror movie. You get the drunk crowd from bars at 2 a.m. People are rude, aggressive, sometimes threaten you. I've had drinks thrown at me. People try to climb through the drive-thru window when they're mad about wait times." And here's the terrifying part. They'd have maybe 2 people total in the building during these overnight shifts. 2 people to handle drunk, aggressive customers while being completely isolated. The safety concerns were real and ignored by corporate. I've been robbed twice working overnight. Corporate's response? Be more aware of your surroundings. No additional security, no panic buttons, nothing. Just 2 teenagers alone in a restaurant with a cash register at 3 a.m. Equipment constantly broke down, but they were still expected to serve the full menu. The fryers would break, the grill would malfunction, the soda machine would stop working. But we were still expected to serve 100+ menu items. I've served lukewarm food, flat drinks, whatever we could manage with broken equipment because calling for repairs takes days. Food safety during busy periods was completely abandoned. During rush times, food would sit way past safe holding times. Those egg rolls that are supposed to be thrown out after 30 minutes? I've served ones that sat for 2 hours. The pressure to avoid waste meant serving questionable food regularly. The mental toll was severe. I developed insomnia from the stress of overnight shifts, anxiety about being robbed, depression from dealing with drunk, abusive customers every night. And corporate's response was always the same. Deal with it or find another job. White Castle's 24-hour stores create situations so chaotic and dangerous they barely feel real. A night shift worker summed it up. I've seen fights break out that we had to call police for. Customers passing out in the bathroom. Someone once drove through the drive-thru in the wrong direction and got stuck. The things you see at 3 a.m. would make a great horror comedy, except it's real, and you're living it. That overnight crowd brought non-stop danger. Drug deals in the parking lot. People shooting up in the bathroom, customers so drunk they couldn't stand up trying to order food. And we're supposed to serve them with a smile while making $9 an hour. The worst part is the policy behind it. Management told us that as long as someone can communicate their order and pay, we have to serve them. I've served people who could barely speak and then watched them drive off. I felt like I was contributing to drunk driving, but I'd get fired if I refused. Kitchen conditions were a disaster. One worker said, "The grease buildup under those flat tops is disgusting. Inches of solidified grease and food particles that have been there for months. Grills are supposed to be deep cleaned nightly. In reality, only when inspections are coming." That buildup caused real danger. I've seen the grease catch fire multiple times. Actual grease fires that needed extinguishers. After we put it out, management told us to get back to work. No cleaning, no checks. Maintenance wasn't any better. The soda machines never got cleaned properly. A TikTok showed mold inside one, and the employee was fired. But I've seen mold in ice machines, soda dispensers, shake machines. They just get wiped and refilled. Mold existed everywhere customers never look. Ceiling tiles had black mold. Bathroom walls had mold. Cooler door seals had mold. Management would spray bleach once a month, which only hid it. Even the food process was worse than expected. Sliders sit on the grill too long. They dry out, but we serve them anyway. During slow periods, I've served sliders made hours earlier. The meat itself was questionable. The patties are basically meat-flavored cardboard. They come frozen, and I've seen boxes thaw and refreeze during delivery. We'd cook them anyway. Safety for staff was almost non-existent. Working alone overnight made us targets. I've been robbed, threatened, had people try to jump the counter. Cameras don't stop someone with a gun at 2 a.m. One worker described a robbery. A guy pulled a knife and took about $200. When I told my manager, his first question was, how much did he take? When I said $200, he yelled at me for having that much in the register. I quit the next day. Health violations piled up. Frozen burgers left out for hours. Condiment dispensers never cleaned. Prep surfaces wiped with the same dirty rag all night. Inspectors never came overnight, so nothing changed. The bathroom situation was a nightmare. People used it for drugs and sex. I found needles, blood, things I won't describe. We were told to clean it with basic supplies. No training, no proper equipment. And the workforce? A lot of co-workers were people with nowhere else to go. Criminal records, addiction, homelessness. Management knew this and exploited it. Minimum wage, terrible treatment, because they knew we had no other options. America's fast food industry runs on the same brutal formula: minimum staff, maximum pressure, and endless corner cutting. Workers are pushed to breaking point, serving food they don't trust because they have no other choice. This is not one chain's problem. It is a system built on exploitation, razor-thin margins, and ignored safety standards. The people speaking out are risking their jobs to warn you. So before you hit that drive-thru, remember the workers doing 5 jobs for 1 paycheck, the mold in the machines, the unsafe overnight shifts. Your health and your conscience are on the line. Now that you know the truth, the choice is yours.